Good afternoon. This is Crystal, Demon Slayer 144. Having a good day today. One thing I noticed with these videos I'm doing, I say and like a lot. So just to let everybody know, I'm working on it, okay? So today, I wanted to talk about a movie I saw. And this was an old movie. This was a movie, it was probably made in the 40s. And it was called Great Expectations by, what is this guy's name? Charles Dickens, yes. I did not know how much I was going to enjoy that movie. That movie was so delightful. And the main thing that got me was how many life lessons I saw in that movie. I would recommend that movie for anyone. As a matter of fact, I liked that movie so much that I went and got the book. And I would just hold it up and show it, but I bet if I showed the book, the wording would be backwards. So I highly recommend that book. And maybe people who are watching this right now have read Great Expectations or have probably seen it. I was really impressed. I kind of got in a little late on the film where the little boy, the spoiler alert, so if you want to read the book or see the movie and then see this later, fine. So this little boy, I caught it where he was sitting he was talking to some old man, like not really old, like maybe the guy was probably, well, he was gray, but he might have been in his 50s or something. Anyway, he's at this graveyard or this swamp, and this guy is seeming to me to be very aggressive with this little boy. I mean, nowadays that wouldn't be tolerated, and probably back then either. But he was like threatening the little boy, like, I need you to bring me something to eat, and if you don't, here's this threat of what'll happen to you. So it seemed to me in watching the movie and catching it late that this guy was like a fugitive running away from something or someone. And the little boy was like, oh, okay. So the little boy goes home, and in this home, I see this man who I later understand to be his brother-in-law, because his mom and dad died, I guess when he was a baby or something. And so his older sister, who married the town blacksmith, his name was Joe, the blacksmith. And so they called her Mrs. Joe, or that's what the little boy called her. And so I saw her. At first I thought that was his mother. But I noticed just how mean she was. Just horrible, constantly beating him and stuff. Just a nightmare of a mother. You could tell that she was someone who, I could tell immediately that she was someone who didn't enjoy raising him, or didn't enjoy being a mom, or, just didn't, that motherhood thing was gone in her. So one day, so this young man has a pretty hard upbringing, and he's this criminal or this fugitive is threatening him and saying, bring me food and bring me, because I guess he had chains on him or something, and bring me something, your relative is a blacksmith, so bring me something to break these chains off. And the little boy did. I mean, he always brought him some food, and he brought him whatever to get the chains off. And I could tell that, or it looked to me like if this little boy hadn't have brought him this food and other provisions, then this guy wouldn't have made it, because he was out there in the middle of nowhere. It looked like the swamps or somewhere. Marshes, I think they were. So one day, the sister, his big sister, Mrs. Joe, says something to the effect of, because I can't remember everything, you know, perfectly. So that's why I bought the book, because I really want to read it in depth. So the sister-in-law, his older sister, says, I have someone, this lady wants to hire you out to play with her little niece or something like that, and you're going to do it because, she is rich and she's respectable, and you're going to do it whether you like it or not. So she sends this little boy to this house with this lady. I think her name is Mrs. Haversham, and she has this little girl who later we find out she adopted, but she's raising this little girl. And I'm telling you, Miss Haversham is a wreck. I mean, she's rich and everything. She's got this mansion, but the mansion looks like Winchester Mystery House. I mean, it looks like a scary house. It looks like a haunted house. Cobwebs everywhere, dusty, just horrible. But, and Miss Haversham looks horrible too. Her hair is all over the place, and, she's dressed in like a wedding gown that she wore probably 50 years ago. So, the little boy, he's just, he has to do it. So he goes there, he meets the little girl. The little girl's horrible. I think her name is, what is her name? I thought her name was Ellen, but I can't find her name. Anyway, I'm going to call her Ellen. So, meets this little girl. She is a nightmare. She's mean to him, and she's just, but he deals with it. He just rolls with the punches. He rolls with the punches. He doesn't really like the little girl, but Miss Havisham will ask him, do you like her? And he'll say, if I can't, he was very polite. Like, if I can't say anything good about somebody, I won't. And so she was like, well, just whisper in my ear. So he would whisper and say, well, I think she's, snooty. I think she's mean, but she's very pretty. I mean, just so sweet and innocent. And to make the long story short, one day, so he really ends up liking this girl. I mean, basically falling in love with her, basically. And there's also another little boy. I should have got the names before I did this, but I'm just going to call him Scott. So, he makes friends with this little boy, Scott, who loves the box and everything, but doesn't really know how to fight. The Pip is the main character. Pip knows how to fight, so he wins the fight every time they spar, but he's just a little gentleman. It's like, I didn't mean to hurt you, and are you okay? And next time better luck next time, stuff like that. And Scott is just so cool, just as cool, like, hey, it's no big deal. Anyway, one day something happens to where the little boy gets some anonymous, let me go back. The person in the marshes who was threatening him and threatening Pip, and Pip was feeding him, he got caught by the law, by the police, and they took him away. Somebody turned him in. Somebody ratted him out, turned him in. And so, years later, Pip was saying, he was telling I guess his sister died, and so then the brother-in-law married another woman who was really sweet and kind and nice to Pip, and Pip was saying, like, I want to do better for myself. I want to, even though I'm poor, but I want to live as a gentleman. I want to, because well, he pretty much sees that that's the only way to get closer to Ellen. Yet Ellen is like, I don't like anybody, and if you were ever to get close to me, that would be your undoing, because I don't have any emotions for anybody as far as love or anything like that. And she tells him this continuously. So Pip gets some sort of a secret donor who pays for fine clothes and for him to live in a upscale place somewhere in London, and to go to school there. He's just coming up in life. And the little girl, well, Miss Havisham is sending her off to France to learn proper etiquette and everything so she could be a lady, and one day I guess she can marry a rich person. What struck me was, even though that little boy, life just brought that little boy so much pain in so many ways. I mean, even with, his parents dying early and being brought up by that horrible sister, and Miss Havisham was strange, but that little girl was mean to him, and I don't know if I mentioned the criminal who was threatening him, but he just rolled with the punches. He still maintained his innocence and sweetness and was kind and just a sweet, sweet child. That the horrible things he went through, it never changed who he was. And then finally, even though this girl was horrible to him, he was still like, I love her. Personally, I was thinking, why would you love somebody who treats you so bad? I don't understand. Yes, she's pretty, but eventually, before Pip went off to London and before this young girl went off to France, they were a little better with each other. So I said, okay, I can see then how he would have softer feelings for her, and even though she was just... So he goes to England. He meets back up with the young man who was fighting him. They would spar, and now they're going to be roommates in this nice apartment, and the attorney for Miss Havisham is the one who's arranging everything. So Pip thinks that Miss Havisham is supporting him, that is his sponsor. Because I think at one point she said, when you get old enough or when you get to be a teenager, I'll give you so much gold or some coins or something like that. So he's thinking she's the sponsor. Life goes on, and eventually, my dog, I tell you, my dog keeps trying to come in. Hold on. So eventually, go lay down. Wait, you want to say hi? Here. You say hi. Look up. Hello. You say hi. Now you're looking outside. Okay. So eventually, let me just get to the parts that really impress me. Eventually, Pip finds out that the sponsor is not Miss Havisham. It's actually the fugitive who was threatening him before, because the fugitive came and visited him, and at this apartment where he was staying with this young man, and the fugitive was saying, remember me? And the little boy first, Pip was like, I don't know who you are. And then he was like, remember this, and that? And then Pip was like, oh, but there was a bit of, caution, hesitation, like, oh, yes, I remember you. Like, pretty much, oh, would you like a drink? Because I need you to leave. And the fugitive told him the story, like, when I was down and out and having a horrible time of it, you really helped me. You basically saved my life. And I was not a good person. The things I did to you, I shouldn't have done, as far as threatening you and scaring you and everything. But you're the one who kept me alive when I was out there on the run. And I changed my ways. And I did an investment or made a business or something, and now I'm rich. And so basically, I'm the one who's your sponsor. And the boy was just shocked. He thought Miss Haversham was. That led me to think, because I would have never believed it. I would never believe that this criminal, because he, come to find out, he was an escaped criminal, that this criminal could turn into such a benevolent man, a man who found himself, who admitted, like, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been like that, but based on what was going on in my life at the time, this is who I was. But as soon as I evolved from that, I remembered you. And he admitted, I had a child once, a little girl, and for some reason, the little girl got taken away, and that just made me so bitter. But seeing you just remind me of the child I never had, and so, I wanted to do this for you. And so it just made me think, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't. I was so shocked that this grubby criminal threatening children turned out to be such an amazing benefactor. Just changed his ways and everything. And I also looked, I said, well, wait a minute now. If Pip would have allowed what he went through to tarnish his soul, to make him bitter and make him mean or make him disagreeable, whatever, he wouldn't come into that life that he ended up having. And he also had this dream, and that dream he held on to it. I want to be a person of means. I want to be a gentleman, because he was in love with that little girl. And intent with the faith that it is yours. You can have it. You truly can have it. And then the trust in the divine source, or the trust that life will bring what you want to you. The desire and the intent have to be strong enough to initially drive it. But then the faith that, yeah, it's coming. It's like the check's in the mail. I'm just waiting for it to get there. I already ordered it on Amazon. It'll be here in 3 days. You don't know. But with life, you don't know when what you're manifesting, or what you set your intent and desire for, you don't know exactly when it's going to come or how it's going to come. And that right there is the magic. If you can hold that faith and trust without knowing when it's going to come and how it's going to come, it will come. And it may not be exactly what you asked for, but it will be that or better. Why? Because there is a universal intelligence that knows better than we do what we need, when we need it, and how we need it. All we have to do is put the intent out there and not block it with anxiety about, well, how, when, why, who, or fear that it won't come. Even if, we tell, and see, that's the other thing, don't tell people. It's really better not to tell people of your highest dreams unless you really, really trust them, because people can, with their own negativity, that can't be true. You really think that's going to happen? Why do you think you'll get that? You're tripping, whatever. Everything's energy. So even that energy can have an effect, a negative effect on what you want that's coming to you. To slow it down or even break your focus. You know, you have your intent out there, you have your faith, and you have your trust. Well, if you listen to naysayers, that'll break your focus. And if your trust is broken, your faith is broken. Okay, Sophia. Hello. 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 Then once that focus is broken, you know, it'll be questionable of whether you're going to get it. This divine energy, this universal intelligence knows exactly what we should get and how we should get it. What we should get and how we should get it. And so let's trust it. Let's just, what's the worst thing that could happen? Oh, we won't have it, so we'll just be where we are. We won't be any worse off. Give it a try. So this is what I see Pip doing in Great Expectations. This is what I see when he said, you know, I want to be a gentleman. I want to have a higher standard of life. Who in a billion years would have thought he would have gotten that from that criminal, that fugitive? Who would have even thunk it? But that was the best way for him to get it. And the fugitive had a child. Come to find out, through here and there, that child was the same child that Miss Havisham adopted. But the little girl doesn't know that. The attorney knows it, but it's something that's on the low, so it's not really going around. The fugitive, when he visited Pip, he wasn't supposed to. He wasn't supposed to be in England anymore, but I think he moved to Wales or somewhere. He wasn't supposed to be in England, but he had to see this young man. He had to see him, had to see how he was doing, everything like that. So he risked being caught by the police. And if the police caught him, because he was a fugitive still, they would hang him. Well, the person who turned him in the first time, when he got taken away after Pip had helped him as a little boy, that fugitive, I think the fugitive had slit the, and I'll call this guy the rat because he ratted him out. So I think he had slit the rat's face or something, but this rat had it out for the fugitive. So when the rat found out that he was in England, he was like, oh, I'm going to turn him in. I'm going to turn him in. So he talked to the police and things happened. The police, Pip and Scott tried to help the old fugitive get back to Wales and escape, but the police caught up with him, and there was, I guess, an altercation fight, and the fugitive they were in a boat, and the boat ended up tipping over or something, I don't know, but now the fugitive was on his deathbed. He had suffered some injuries or maybe hypothermia, but he was on his deathbed. And Pip was there, and he just said, you know, you have been the closest thing to me as a child, as a son, that I would ever have. And it was just so heartwarming and beautiful. But the guy died, right? So Pip didn't have a sponsor anymore, and Pip didn't care. He was just sick of the whole thing. He was like, you know what? This man died. He shouldn't have died like that. And I'm through with it. The attorney told Pip, you know, this guy has a daughter. Yes, you know, in so many words, it's Miss Havisham's adoptee. And this, you know, you won't be sponsored, but the money, all this money that this rich fugitive had is going to go to her. And it did. And so Pip had gone back home to his brother-in-law, he didn't have anywhere to go. He went back to his brother-in-law, and his brother-in-law was so wonderful and so good to him. And now the brother-in-law is married to this new woman who is a true mother, like a good woman to both of them, because Pip's sister used to beat Pip up and beat the husband up. So this new woman was just an angel. She was a godsend for everybody. So Pip had asked, when he went back to stay with them for a while, figure out what he's going to do. Pip went to, he said, well, I'm just going to go see the house again. For some reason, he wanted to go see the old house where Mrs. Havisham lived, because he had bad memories from that house, because he had gone there at one point to talk to Miss Havisham and basically say, you know, the gig is up. I know what's going on with you and Ellen, and how you raised her, and you know, and Ellen had told him, hey, based on the way I was raised, I don't care about a man. I'll marry rich, but I don't love him. You know, I don't love him. No, I just don't. And it's better if you're not with me, because I don't have any emotions for love, for true love. I just don't have it. And Miss Havisham, because, you know, she was going to get married, and on her wedding day, the guy who was going to marry her ran off. So she's bitter. So she's going to be like, oh, I'm going to tutor this child in bitterness. Or not bitterness, but just, you know, guard your emotions with everything you've got. And so when Pip talked to Miss Havisham, when he came back to visit her, when he was a grown man, you know, all in fine clothes and everything, he was like, basically, you turned her into a monster. I mean, how can she love anybody? How can she even know what true love is? And Miss Havisham was like, basically, at the end, she was like, oh my God, what have I done? But then something happened. The house caught on fire. She died, and Pip tried to save her and burnt his hands and whatnot. So he's got these memories. He goes back by the house just to look at it. Now he sees the house is for sale, and you know, he doesn't know where Ellen is or anything like that. But he goes into the house just to kind of look around and kind of old memories, what have you. And who's there but Ellen? Ellen is there, and he's like, oh my God, you know, and they're chatting, and he says, like, what are you going to do? And she's like, I'm just going to live here. And when she said live here, it's like, I'm going to live here with the curtains covering up the windows and all the dust and cobwebs, and I'm going to do it. Miss Havisham did it. She was happy. I could be happy too, because I don't need anybody, and I don't even want anybody, and, you know, I'm good. I've got more money I don't know what to do with. And Pip was like, you can't live like that. What, you're going to live like her? She was dead inside. How are you going to? And he's talking, and he's full of passion. He starts ripping down the curtains off and letting the sunlight in. And she's seeing this place for the first time, and she's seeing how horrible this place really is. Like how scary and just despicable this place is. And something snapped. Something changed. And Pip said, look, you know, I don't have any money, but I love you, and I've loved you since you were little, since we were kids. I've never stopped. And I can show you true love. I can show you what that is. And something in her softened, and next thing you know, she was in his arms, and the movie was going off. I thought to myself, I said, wow, just by going with the flow, by not judging everything as you see it. Because I'm watching the movie, and of course I'm like, that fugitive, I would have blah, 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 blah. Like, he would have never been in my life again. Oh, Mrs. Havisham, that crazy woman, blah, blah, blah. That mean little girl, I'd make sure she was never in my life again. Just on and on and on. But he didn't do that. He didn't judge. He went by his heart. He followed his heart. And his heart led him not only through all of the tragic things that happened and got him through it, through all that, but he then he was there. He didn't judge everything and cut, burn the bridges, cut people off. Like, that is like my superpower. That is my superpower. You do something to me, especially if it's betrayal or anything like that, I'm cutting you off. And guess what? When I say you're dead to me, you are dead to me. I don't know you anymore. I'll never see you again, ever in life. And that has always been what I've used to protect myself, to make me feel better when I had the worst pain with people, in relationships. Things didn't work out. I'm cutting you off. You're dead to me. If Pip would have done that, judged people, cut people off, burned the bridges, he would not end up with the love of his life. He wouldn't have ended up with all the rich experiences he had, especially monetary, and being a gentleman, my dog's snoring, being a gentleman and living that life. But in the end, the way I saw it, it showed me that he was going to marry her. And I think they talked about refurbishing the house and, making it a really good place to live. I was so shocked at the ending that all these blessings and good things came out of that. And the lesson I walked away with is just go with the flow and don't judge a book by its cover. When something happens that you immediately think, oh, that's bad. That's bad. I don't care, even if it's a delay. You wanted something and now it's been delayed, or it didn't work right, or what I wanted didn't come, or something like that. What I thought was going to happen didn't. Now I'm mad and I'm upset. Take a minute. Take 2 breaths. Because maybe that divine presence that knows everything and sees things we can never see has a better plan for you. What I do when something doesn't work out for me, or before judging a book by its cover, now I'll put boundaries. If somebody's treating me bad or something like that, I'll put boundaries. However, I will say, rather than writing somebody off, or I'm judging you, this is what you are, or this situation, this is what it is, I'll be curious. I'll say, I wonder why that happened. I'm keeping my channels open, because I'm not all seeing and all knowing. So I'm going to keep the channels open just to see. Some things you can't do that. Some situations, some people, you just got to get them out of your space. You just do. Yet, if there's a question, if there's a possibility that maybe there's more to this story than what I immediately see right now, give yourself the grace to be curious about it and see what happens. Maybe just maybe, if you look back on all your experiences, you'll probably even see where at times you didn't immediately judge your situation as bad. You didn't like it, but you didn't say, I'm walking away from this. I don't know. Where later on, if you're honest with yourself, you'll say, you know what? I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know that this situation going this way actually made the best thing happen. And so that's what I'm saying. Don't cut yourself off from your blessings. Just give it, give it a chance. You never know. You might be a little Pip there. So, if you liked what you heard, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to hear more of it, hit subscribe. And no matter what, I welcome comments. I welcome comments on whether you like what you're hearing or you don't like it, or there could be improvements. Because as I said, I've just started doing this, maybe a week or two ago. So it's pretty new. Until next time.